Hi, friend, and welcome back to The Inflection Point. My name is Naomi, Dr. Naomi Mwinga Kimuyu. This is a place where we return to Scripture and understand how God created us so that we can walk confidently in the influence He has entrusted to us. We are talking about walking in your giftedness. This is about how God created you as a means to reaching the place where people call walking in purpose, or where you might be wanting to get to where you're walking in purpose. But before then, let's understand how God created you, what are the barriers around that, and how do we overcome them. In the last 2 episodes, we talked about why you don't need full clarity to start and how you can begin even when you feel too busy. If you haven't listened to those 2 episodes, I encourage you to do so and share them with your friends also. Today, we are talking about what happens next. What often happens next. You've decided that you're going to start without full clarity and you're going to begin even when things seems very busy. You've already overcome the 2 steps and decided to step out even when you don't have full clarity and even when you feel very busy. And then you start, you take a step. And then a thought comes quietly or maybe loudly in your head. And this thought says, this feels small. It feels very small, like insignificant. And many women expect that when they step out into their calling, you've discovered how it is that God has wired you and you're walking boldly, then immediately you'll feel clear and significant, impactful and obvious. But instead, you feel simple, you feel ordinary, hidden, and things feel like they're so slow, maybe even slower than they were before. And the question becomes, is this really my calling, or am I just doing something small? And this is where many people stop. Not because they're unwilling, but because they expected something different to happen just after they discovered their calling and have started walking in it. But because you're here, you are not most people, and that's a great place to start. Let's look at Zechariah chapter 4 verse 10. In part it reads, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." Notice that God does not just celebrate completion, He rejoices in the beginnings, and even small beginnings, the ones that look like humble beginnings. I think another version says do not despise the humble beginnings. And this is what we're talking about today. So why does calling often start small? Why do we have to start at such a place? Why not just go on to the right thing, to the end? In fact, when God has already revealed to you that this or that is what you're supposed to be doing. God rarely begins with visibility, meaning you're not out there on a platform. He begins with formation, and this formation is a transformation inside of you that allows you to be able to even handle the visibility that you're going to have later on in life when things begin to fall into place and now you're ready to be seen by the world. You see, the small beginnings do something very important. They build your capacity, they refine your character, and they clarify your gifting and teach you how to carry responsibility during those quiet moments. So during those times when things don't seem significant, that is the time that you're being shaped and formed and being molded into exactly the vessel that God needs you to be able to carry your calling and your purpose with great responsibility. If everything started big, we would not be ready to sustain it by the time God is giving it to us. And we probably wouldn't be able to move a single step owing to the magnitude of the task ahead. So you look at the task and maybe God has shown you the end from the beginning and you're like, this is too huge, I can't even move. You'll be paralyzed with indecision. That is what might happen. And let's compare this with the mustard seed. Jesus says the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. It begins with something very small, but over time, it grows into something that creates space for others. This is your gifting. And this is how calling works. It starts small. And here I say small in quotes because in reality, no start is actually small. After all, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Just because you're taking seemingly small steps, it doesn't diminish the size of the dream. The mustard seed grows as it is nurtured, and indeed it grows into a big tree. That said, let's be honest. Small beginnings can feel discouraging because it's not visible, it's not affirmed quickly. People can't even see what's going on in your life, and you can't sometimes even explain the kind of transformation that is going on inside your heart, inside your mind, inside your character, because it's invisible. It doesn't feel significant yet. It seems like there's such small steps, such minor things that you're being asked to do, and it doesn't quite match what we imagined. We imagined that when we come into calling and purpose, that everything will just begin to flow, and then we begin to have people calling on you to do this, come do this job for us, come speak at this event. That's what we imagine will happen, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. And sometimes the reason what's happening here is that we are comparing. We think what I'm doing doesn't look like what others are doing, but comparison surely distorts perspective, because you're seeing somebody else's middle and comparing it to your beginning. And truly speaking, there is never an appropriate comparator to you, because you're unique in all ways. Your calling is very unique in all ways to you and to me. So we can really never truly compare ourselves to others. So even when we do so, it's that we are comparing things that are not comparable. We have to remember that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. So what should we be thinking instead? Small does not mean insignificant. Let's agree on that point. That small does not mean insignificant. Small often means early, and I might add, right on time. And early stages are meant to be quiet, formative, intentional, and not necessarily impressive. So what do we do when those thoughts creep in? When our minds start to evaluate and compare with others? Here are some practical tips we can put at the top of our minds. Number one, measure faithfulness, not size. Instead of asking, is this what I'm doing big enough? Ask, am I being faithful with God has placed in front of me? Am I being faithful with what God has placed in front of me? Faithfulness is the foundation of growth. Number two, look for impact, not visibility. Your calling is not defined by how many people see it, although it would be great if thousands, even hundreds of thousands and millions of people saw it, because that's the impact I think most of us are chasing, to be able to impact many people. However, your calling is defined by how people are impacted through it. Even one conversation, one person helped, one moment of clarity, that is what matters. And I can tell you for sure, even for me, this has been a struggle. Wondering and thinking, am I doing enough? Am I doing what is relevant? Am I doing what really God has called me to do? And if I am, then how come I'm not seeing these great results? How come I'm not having hundreds of thousands of followers at this moment? At this moment, I don't have a big following on social media channels that I have, but I have to keep being faithful. And many times when people come back with a testimony of how I impacted them, either through the podcast or through the coaching or through having a conversation with them, then it reminds me that I'm taking the right step. So look for visibility. Look for impact rather than visibility. Number three, stay with what is working. Pay attention to where people are helped, where conversations are meaningful, where your contribution brings clarity or strength, or whatever thing your contribution brings to the spaces in which you're called to serve. This is often where your gift is already operating. Can you see the evidence of any of the above, where people are helped, where something happens because of your involvement? Keep going and remember to give thanks to God for that privilege of doing what you are currently doing. Giving thanks is an antidote to complaining and comparing, which is what feeling small is about. Feeling small is about you looking at yourself and imagining that you're not doing enough compared to somebody else. And we've already confirmed that today there's nothing that or no one can compare with you, because you're fearfully and wonderfully made and you're a unique person. So thank God for the journey so far. Number four, give it time to grow. Small things need time to grow, just as seeds do. Clarity deepens over time, and as you take that one step and the next and the next, the path continues to become clearer. Impact expands over time, starting with 1, 2, or 3 people, and before you know it, you'll be reaching hundreds or even millions of people. The confidence will continue to build over time. As you work through your giftedness, you get clearer on what it is that you're doing, and which means that your confidence is being built up. Don't rush what is still forming. Nobody wants to eat a half-baked cake now, do we? But remember, this doesn't mean that we don't start and we don't get moving. We need to get moving, but with the understanding that it might take a bit of time for these ideas to solidify in our minds, to settle down in our hearts, to get clarity in our minds on exactly what is it I'm doing. If you're a planner, you're not just a planner. I met many planners, and each of them have such a unique way of executing that planning that they have in their hearts to do. And each of them achieves the great results that they need to achieve. But it is because of their unique formations and the way they're designed uniquely by God. So don't give us your half-baked cake right now, because that's not what will be beneficial to the people around you. But as you're working in your giftedness, do not stop because it's not perfect. You see, there's a sort of a balance somewhere there. So you have 4 things there to think about. Measure the faithfulness, not the size. Look for impact, not visibility. Stay with what is working and give it time to grow. And of course, we cannot miss reflecting on Luke chapter 16, verse 10, that says in part, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much," which reminds us that small is not a limitation. It is a test of stewardship. And as we grow into our giftings, God continues to expand our territory because of the way we've stewarded exactly what He has given us at this moment. He continues to give us even more territories to conquer because of the way we've stewarded the current season we are in. And many women also assume that when calling feels significance is when you'll know it. I'll know my calling when it feels significant. Maybe when I'm standing on that stage, or when I have that corner office job that I've been waiting for, or that dream job, that is when my calling will feel significant. But often you recognize your calling by paying attention to what is already happening and recognizing that God created you, how God created you, and staying consistent in the small expressions of what God has allowed you to do and engaging at this moment in this season, not dismissing what seems simple. Your giftedness is often very visible, not just fully developed, but it's there and people recognize it. That's why one of the exercises we do in our coaching is ask people, what is it that people tell you that you're really good at? And we take a moment to list those down and appreciate what people have already told us. And if you haven't had a moment to reflect on how God created you, come in and join the upcoming giftedness coaching cohort. We take 4 lessons to uncover how God created you as a step towards finding your purpose. Check the website frequently for the upcoming cohort, or if you can get together with your friends, just email me at hello@theinflectionpointke.com to get a start date. You don't have to wait for the next cohort to open. If you're already in an organized group, we can get started. Back to our conversation this week. This week, I want you to notice something. What is it that feels small but keeps showing up? Is it a type of conversation? Is it a way that you help people? Is it a pattern in how people respond to you? Instead of dismissing it, stay with it. Give it your attention. Like turn towards it and look at it and see, what is this? What is here? Go on an adventure with God and figure out, what is this? Because the small beginnings very often carry significant direction. We've heard of great companies being started in garages with whatever little the people had, and they went on to form a huge company that is multi-billion-dollar now. Can you imagine if they ignored those desires that they had at the very beginning in their own garage or in their own room? Then things will not be the same way they are right now. So I have 3 journaling prompts for you today. Very simple. Take out your journals and maybe write these questions. What feels small but consistent in my life right now? Is there something that seemingly, maybe you've even been dismissing it and wondering at the back of your head, what's that about? Write it down. Number 2, where might I be dismissing something God is developing? It's very related to number 1. Is there something that you've recognized now and you realize you've been dismissing it and you realize that God might be developing something? And number 3, what would it look like to stay faithful in this season, in that thing that you have identified? What would it look like to stay faithful in this season, in that thing that you have identified in number 1 and 2? If this episode is helping you to recognize that your calling may already be present but developing, Then we do have the Design to Deliver journal that helps you identify some of those patterns and understand how God wired you. It is one of the workbooks that is given to the coaching participants, whether it is one-on-one or group coaching. You will get the Design to Deliver journal, but you can also purchase it separately. It is connected to a prayer journal to help you walk this journey for another 3 months as you think about your giftedness. Through the giftedness coaching or small group coaching, one-on-one or small group coaching, I help you bring clarity to what may already feel small so that you can see how it connects to your larger impact and walk confidently in it. Both are available when you're ready. I pray that you take the moment to take that bold step now. Friends, small does not mean insignificant. It means something has begun. And don't walk away from something that is forming, even if it seems like it's at the beginning stage. Stay. Pay attention. Ask God questions about it. And trust that God is growing something, even if it doesn't look like much yet. I'll see you in the next episode. Kindly share, like, and subscribe, and leave me a comment because this helps us to reach even more people with this content. Until next time, bye-bye, and I'll see you in the next episode.